all of which deserve our attention and consideration. And I would like to thank the chairman for including 2 Democratic bills on this list. Our country has long acknowledged that there is value in the ways we seek to protect lands, and it is reflected in both the Republican and Democratic bills that we are considering today. This batch of bills represents a potential step in a positive direction, a step that acknowledges that conservation is a value shared by all Americans, regardless of party affiliation or any other classification that aims to label or divide us. Conservation is a value with deep American roots, and we should be working together to advance legislation that aims to further protect and elevate our public lands and cultural resources. The Wilderness Society recently conducted a poll among self-identified center-right voters. An overwhelming 73% agreed with the notion that protecting and preserving America's history and natural beauty through public lands is one of the things that government does best. What we do in this committee should reflect this public sentiment, and this hearing is an encouraging start. We do not always see eye to eye on how to address the range of complex management issues that occur across public lands. But I think there is one thing that we can all agree on. Grassroots, locally driven and supported conservation efforts deserve our attention. There are proposals throughout the country to establish new wilderness areas, protect historic resources, adjust the boundaries of national parks, and evaluate possible new additions to the national park system. I hope that we can work together to identify opportunities to promote conservation and common sense. As I've said in previous statements in this subcommittee, our public lands are a public good, and they must be managed in a way that honors their diverse uses and benefits. I recognize that this means striking a balance between protection and conservation on one side, while respecting the economic interests of the communities affected. Teddy Roosevelt once said, quote, "I recognize the right and duty of this generation to develop and use the natural resources of our land, but I do not recognize the right to waste them or to rob by wasteful use the generations that come after us," unquote. In over 100 years since Roosevelt so eloquently articulated these principles and ideals, the challenges and interests have not changed a bit. Protecting and preserving our shared heritage, be it natural or cultural, is a critical role of this subcommittee. These bills seek to strike the balance Roosevelt references. They represent an opportunity for this Congress to ensure that this generation can leave a lasting legacy that does not rob or waste the precious resources that is our public lands. Our responsibility is to underscore Roosevelt's admonition in the face of forces, that there are forces that would undercut these fundamental rights of all Americans whose lands these are. We are pleased to be working through the bills before us today, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses. With that, I yield back.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from